Christmas morning was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. My name is Emily Carter, and for years I had believed that my family was everything. I worked hard, stayed quiet, and always tried to keep peace between my parents and my older sister, Jessica. But that Christmas morning changed everything. I woke up before sunrise and walked downstairs, expecting the smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls. Instead, I found my suitcase sitting beside the front door. I stopped. "Mom?" I called. My mother came out of the kitchen without looking at me. "Emily, we need to talk." My father was sitting at the dining table. Jessica was beside him, smiling. I looked at my suitcase. "What is this?" My father sighed. "You're leaving today." I thought I had heard him wrong. "Leaving? Where?" My mother crossed her arms. "Back to your apartment. Jessica is moving into your room." I stared at my sister. She smiled. "Come on, Emily. You're 27. It's time you stopped depending on Mom and Dad." "I don't depend on you," I whispered. Jessica laughed. "You've been living here for months." That wasn't true. I had been helping my parents after my father's business failed. I paid bills, bought groceries, and even used my savings to keep the house from falling behind. But nobody mentioned that. My father simply pointed toward the door. "Take your things." I looked at my mother, hoping she would stop him. She didn't. As I picked up my suitcase, Jessica walked closer. "Don't worry," she said with a cruel smile. "I'll take good care of your room." Then she looked at the Christmas tree. "There's a present with your name on it." For one second, I felt relieved. Maybe they had planned a surprise. I walked toward the tree and picked up the small box. Jessica quickly took it from my hands. "Oh, this?" She smiled. "I think I like it better." She handed it to herself. My heart sank. "Jessica, that's mine." She shrugged. "Not anymore." I looked at my parents. Nobody said anything. I grabbed my coat and walked outside. Snow was falling heavily. I stood on the porch with my suitcase, trying not to cry. Then I remembered my grandfather. He had died 3 months earlier. Before his death, he had given me a strange sentence that I never understood. "If your family ever makes you feel like you don't belong, remember that I left you something." At the time, I thought he meant a memory. I never imagined he meant something much bigger. As I reached my car, I noticed a white envelope tucked beneath the windshield wiper. My name was written on it. Emily Carter. And beneath my name were 4 words. "Open this on Christmas." I slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "Emily, if you are reading this, then the day I feared has finally arrived." My hands began to shake. There was another line. "Go to the lawyer. Do not tell your family." I looked back at the house. My parents were standing inside. Jessica was laughing. None of them knew what was about to happen. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove away. I had no idea that my grandfather's final Christmas gift would expose a secret my family had hidden for 20 years. And I had no idea that by sunset, everything would change. The address in Grandpa's letter led me to a small law office downtown. I had never been there before. When I walked inside, an older man behind the desk looked at me. "Emily Carter?" I nodded. He immediately stood up. "Miss Carter, I've been expecting you." My heart started beating faster. "You knew I was coming?" He smiled sadly. "Your grandfather asked me to wait until Christmas morning." He closed the office door behind me. "My name is Daniel Brooks. I was your grandfather's attorney for 31 years. I sat down. "Why did Grandpa send me here?" Mr. Brooks placed a thick brown folder on the desk. "Because he wanted you to know the truth." I opened the folder. The first document was a property deed. I stared at the address. It was my childhood home. I looked up. "That's my parents' house." Mr. Brooks nodded. "Your grandfather purchased that property 20 years ago." "What?" "He never transferred ownership to your father. Your father was only allowed to live there under a family agreement." I couldn't breathe. Why would Grandpa do that? Mr. Brooks opened another document. "This is the original agreement." I read it carefully. The house had been placed into a family trust. And the beneficiary was Emily Carter. I stared at my name. "No, that can't be right." "It is." But my parents told me Dad inherited the house. Mr. Brooks shook his head. He didn't. Then he handed me another envelope. This is your grandfather's final letter. I opened it. Emily, if you're reading this, I am no longer here to protect you. For years, I watched your parents treat you differently from Jessica. I knew they were planning to give everything to her, but there was something they never knew. When your father's business began failing, I secretly paid the mortgage on the house. I also placed my investments into a trust under your name. Not because you were my favorite. Because you were the only one who never asked me for anything. You helped people when nobody was watching. That is what I wanted to reward. I stopped reading. Tears filled my eyes. Mr. Brooks quietly waited. Then I saw the final paragraph. Emily, I know they may try to make you feel worthless. Do not believe them. Your worth was never determined by the way they treated you. I covered my face. For the first time that morning, I cried. But there was one more document. Mr. Brooks pushed it toward me. This is the important one. I looked down. It was a bank statement. The amount nearly made me fall out of my chair. Grandpa had left me an investment account worth several $1,000,000. I stared at Mr. Brooks. Why didn't he tell me? Because he knew you would refuse it. I remembered Grandpa laughing whenever I offered to help him. You're stubborn like your mother, he used to say. Then Mr. Brooks became serious. There is one condition. What condition? You must decide what happens to the house. I looked at him. Can I keep my parents there? You can. Can I sell it? Yes. Can I remove them? Yes. I sat silently. My family had thrown me out on Christmas morning. But Grandpa had given me the power to decide whether they would have a home tomorrow. Then my phone started ringing. It was my mother. I didn't answer. A second call came. Then a text. Emily, come home. We need to talk. A minute later, another message appeared. Your father knows about Grandpa's letter. I froze. How? Then Mr. Brooks looked at me. Miss Carter, there is something else you need to know. What? He lowered his voice. Your grandfather believed your father had been hiding something from you for years. I looked at him. What was he hiding? Mr. Brooks opened a final file. And what I saw inside changed the way I remembered my entire childhood. Inside the file was an old photograph. It showed my father standing beside Grandpa outside a bank. The date was 20 years earlier. I looked confused. What happened that day? Mr. Brooks pointed to a document. Your father asked your grandfather for money. How much? $300,000. My eyes widened. For his business? Mr. Brooks shook his head. No. He handed me another paper. He wanted the money to pay a debt. I stared at the document. My father had borrowed money from several people and lost almost everything. Grandpa had paid the debt. But there was one condition. My father had promised to stop gambling. I felt sick. Did he? Mr. Brooks didn't answer immediately. Then he said, no. I remembered all the strange nights from my childhood. My father disappearing for hours. My mother crying in the kitchen. Bills arriving that she never showed me. And Grandpa always telling me, Emily, one day you'll understand. I finally understood. But there was more. Mr. Brooks showed me bank records proving that my father had secretly withdrawn money from the family account for years. Some of that money had been taken from my college fund. I stared at the numbers. My parents told me there wasn't enough money for college. Mr. Brooks nodded. There was. My hands began shaking. Where did the money go? He looked at me. Your sister's college tuition. I couldn't speak. Jessica had always told me that she was simply luckier than me. But she hadn't been lucky. I had been paying the price. My phone rang again. This time it was Jessica. I answered. What do you want? Her voice sounded different. Emily, please come home. Why? Dad told us what Grandpa left you. I stayed silent. She continued. We didn't know. You didn't know what? That the house belonged to you. I almost laughed. You took my Christmas present this morning. I was joking. You laughed when they kicked me out. She became quiet. Then she said, I'm sorry. For years, I had wanted to hear those words. But now they felt empty. I need time, I said. Emily, please. I ended the call. Mr. Brooks looked at me. You don't have to forgive them today. I know. But your grandfather wanted something else. What? He handed me a small wooden key. This opens a safe deposit box. What's inside? I don't know. Grandpa never told you? No. The bank was only 15 minutes away. When we arrived, the manager brought out the box. Inside were photographs, old letters, a watch, and one final envelope. My name was written across it. I opened it. Emily. If you have reached this box, then you already know enough to understand why I kept my distance from your father. But there is one truth I never told you. You were the reason I stayed in this family. Your father wanted to sell the house years ago. Your mother agreed. But I stopped them. Because I knew that one day you would need a place to call home. I also knew they would eventually choose Jessica over you. So I made a decision. The house would belong to you. Not as revenge. As protection. I wiped away my tears. Then I noticed something inside the envelope. A small photograph. It showed Grandpa holding me as a baby. On the back, he had written, "She deserves to know who she really is." I looked at Mr. Brooks. What does that mean? He looked surprised. I don't know. Then he turned the photograph over again. There was another sentence beneath the first. Ask your mother about the night Emily was born. My heart stopped. What could possibly be hidden about my birth? I called my mother. She answered immediately. Emily? I asked one question. Mom, what happened the night I was born? There was complete silence. Then I heard her whisper. Who told you about that? And I knew. My grandfather hadn't just left me an inheritance. He had left me the truth. My mother finally agreed to meet me. We met at a quiet coffee shop across town. She looked exhausted. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Then I placed Grandpa's photograph on the table. What happened the night I was born? My mother looked at the picture. Tears filled her eyes. Your father didn't want another child. I felt my chest tighten. He wanted me to give you up. I stared at her. Give me up. She nodded. Your father was struggling with money. He thought another child would ruin everything. What did Grandpa do? He told me that if your father didn't want you, he would raise you himself. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then why didn't he? Because I refused. My mother began crying. I chose you. For the first time, I saw something in her face that looked like regret. I thought things would get better. I thought your father would change. But he didn't. No. And Jessica? My mother looked down. Your father always favored her because she was the child he planned for. I felt tears running down my face. So I was never wanted. My mother reached across the table. No, Emily. You were always wanted by me. I pulled my hand away. Then why did you let them throw me out on Christmas morning? She had no answer. After a long silence, she whispered. Because I was afraid. I stood up. I was afraid too, Mom. I left. That afternoon, I returned to my parents' house. My father opened the door. His face was pale. You know everything? Yes. He looked away. I made mistakes. You stole my college money. I was going to pay it back. You lied about the house. I thought Grandpa would change his will. And you let them throw me out. He didn't answer. I looked at Jessica. She was crying. Emily, I'm sorry. I looked at both of them. For a moment, I remembered every Christmas. Every birthday. Every time Jessica received something while I was told to understand. Then I remembered Grandpa's letter. Your worth was never determined by the way they treated you. I took a deep breath. I'm not here to punish you. My father looked surprised. The house stays in my name. He nodded. But you can stay here. My mother looked at me. Why? Because Grandpa didn't leave me this house so I could become like you. My father lowered his head. But there are conditions. I handed him a paper. He read it. The gambling debts would be paid. The house would never be sold without my permission. And my parents would have to attend financial counseling. Jessica would have to repay the money taken from my college fund. Nobody spoke. Then I placed Grandpa's old watch on the table. This was his final Christmas gift to me. I put it on my wrist. I thought losing my family was the worst thing that could happen to me. I looked at the Christmas tree. But Grandpa taught me something. My mother asked, What? That sometimes losing people is how you finally find yourself. I walked out of the house. Snow was falling again. But this time, I wasn't standing there with a suitcase. I had my grandfather's watch on my wrist, his letter in my pocket, and a future nobody could take away. Years later, every Christmas, I returned to that same house. Not because I had forgotten what happened. Because I had finally forgiven myself for believing I wasn't enough. And every Christmas morning, I remembered Grandpa's final words. Never let someone else's rejection decide your value. That was the greatest gift he ever gave me.